Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the LaPorte County Board of Commission meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and when we're finished, if you could just have a moment of silence and to honor the people of Ukraine, especially the families and the children. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we start with the roll call, please?
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Present.
Commissioner Matias.
Present.
Commissioner Haney.
Present.
All three present.
Thank you. Next, we'll consider the agenda.
Yes, Madam President. There's a couple of removals I'd like to ask to be removed from the agenda. I would ask to remove the first part of 10A, the social media policy, as well as 11B, the resolution approving the I-94-35 Economic Development Plan.
Okay. In addition, we're going to move up 12A, the information on multi-factor authentication to accommodate Mr. Jones, who has a meeting after this. So that'll go up under 10A as well.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Mrzinski, do you have anything?
Motion to approve as amended.
We have a motion. I need a second to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Next on the agenda, we want to consider the approval of the February 16th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the Commission on February 16th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Next, we have consideration of claims.
Commissioners, good morning. We have payroll for the period ending 2/25/2022 in the amount of $1,302,989.27 and operating expense claims in the amount of $1,622,482.47.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Next on the agenda, we'd like to consider the correspondence from Senator Mike Bohacek, who serves at the State House on the DOC/Prison Committee, Department of Corrections Committee. There's a huge project being done in Westville, at Westville Correctional, and he is asking for an appointment from the Commission to serve as a liaison to the community. Is there anyone that you would want to consider for that, or would you like to volunteer to do that yourself? One of you?
I'd be willing to do that.
Okay.
First, just a quick point of order. We need to be doing a roll call vote since we have one commissioner attending via Zoom. I'm sorry, I forgot about that this morning.
Okay. That's not a problem. So we have, Commissioner Haney has said he would be happy to be the liaison for the Westville Correctional Construction Project. Do we have any other nominations? So let's take a vote on that, please. By voice, we need to have a motion to approve.
Sure. I would move, after speaking with Senator Bohacek on this, I'd move to be the liaison for the Westville Correctional Construction Project.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second to appoint Commissioner Haney to the Westville Correctional Project as our community liaison from the Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Haney?
Aye.
Mr. Mrzinski?
I said aye.
Okay. And my name is Sheila Matias, and I will say aye also. So, next on the agenda, we have public comment. Please remember that we want to be respectful and civil in our discussion. This is also not a political forum, so if you would like to make comments about anything on the agenda or anything that's on your mind, please feel free to do so. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. I think everybody has a hard copy now of the current.
Would you be
balance
kind
that we
enough
have.
to just introduce yourself?
I'm
and
Lisa
your-
Pierzakowski, Center Township Trustee.
Thank you.
So, as of March 1st, the balance that I have left is $17,082.07. Since the last time I was here, sorry I was not here in February, I did take a long needed vacation. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 since I was last here in January. As I said before, we're trying to push as many through the state as we possibly can, but there's some landlords that don't want to wait. So there's some landlords that we're, having to fund. We also have one landlord that we will not be working with anymore. I've talked with Judge Friedman, and her and I spoke about it, and anybody from a certain complex in Michigan City will automatically go to a judge come in and do the mediation for them, because they do not want to go by the rules of the state for the IHCDA or by the township. So they feel that they should receive their funds and double funds and triple funds and everything else. And they also feel that they can evict once they receive the funds, and that is not something that we allow.
So Lisa, just to put everything in context, there may be some people who are listening who don't know what we're talking about. So could you give just a 2-sentence, 3-sentence summary
Sure.
of the ARP funds that are being used to help people who are in danger of eviction?
Sure. So I am handling 20 of the 21 townships. Michigan Township is handling their own. So I'm handling all the county evictions for the other 20 townships. And that is anybody with a 10-day notice or an eviction. If they receive something from the courts, my name and phone number is listed on there. And then we bring them in and we do an application with them. If they have not signed up for the IHCDA, we automatically sign them up for the IHCDA and try to push that through as quickly as we can. If not, if we have to fund it through the county funding, United Way funding, and township funding, that's what we do.
Thank you.
But I will tell you, I was pretty excited on vacation. I was working while I was on vacation, and I was able to push one through. It was like a $6,000 eviction. And I was actually able to push it through the state within a 2-week time period while I was gone. So it can happen if I beg, plead, cheat, and steal and everything else. But it happened to be a vet. He was a vet, and it was a family of 4. And Dad was away, and Mom was struggling because the funds weren't coming in like they should have been. So the state was able to get that one pushed through. So that's what we're doing. Okay.
Thank you for all you do, Lisa. And
Thank
it's
you.
what a great use for the ARP money.
Yeah,
Exactly
it's helping keep people in their housing, because
Right.
as we know, there's a housing shortage. So
Right.
thank you for the funding.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Lisa.
Any other member of the public who wishes to speak at this time?
Ma'am, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
Rip Ludlow, 1103 West 19th Street, LaPorte. Some of you might have remembered I was a paramedic supervisor around here for about 35 years. Retired about 8 years ago. I want to congratulate you guys, because I see on item number 12 the EMS bid opening for a Rolling Prairie ambulance base. Quick history. This has been going on at a snail's pace for 40 years. 40 years. This started with Ira Mills as administrator, went to John Jones, went to Barb Houston, went to Pat Pease, John Jones. Everybody's been trying to achieve this EMS base in Rolling Prairie. It has been a priority, and it's just been a snail pace. You know, I've been retired for 8 years, but still EMS will always be dear to my heart. And certainly, I don't live in Rolling Prairie, always lived in LaPorte, but I've always thought that Rolling Prairie has been in such a need for better service in that northeast part of the county. And it's just not Rolling Prairie. It's a school system. It's Hudson Township. It's a quick access to Lincoln Township. It's Highway 2 and Highway 20 and a toll road that's just carrying massive amounts of vehicles. We can change healthcare in that part of the county. And I want to congratulate you. Rich Brzezinski's listened to me for a long time on this. Good morning, sir. I just want to congratulate you, and I sincerely hope that it doesn't get bogged down again that the county council will fund it and fund it properly with the amount of people that Andrew McGuire and his team needs to enhance and protect the people of the northeast part of the county. And I want to thank you, Larry Lewandowski sitting back there. Andrew McGuire's probably on that Zoom somewhere here, but they do a tremendous effort, and you guys do a tremendous effort, and I certainly hope that we move forward with this. And thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. It's really
Thank you, Mr.
valuable.
Ludlow.
Any other members of the public who wish to speak at this time? Do we have anyone on Zoom, Darlene? Okay. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak?
Good morning. Randy Beach, 4177 West Schultz Road.
Good morning.
Morning.
I see that we're going to have possibly have a Reggie Corthels, I hope I pronounced that name properly, joining us for looking for the top-down investigation on the permits that are out behind my house and on 1000 North. I've had contact with her back in 2015. I hope it doesn't compromise any of her thoughts. I have questioned and will continue to question why we're looking at an environmental consultant on a code compliance matter. There are several companies in the world that do just that. I have already suggested T.R. Arnold out of Elkhart, Indiana. The company is recognized by just under 40 states, including Indiana, as an independent third-party inspection agency. That is what these companies are meant to do. Now that we're about to do a top-down review, a couple other items that are connected to the industrial mineral removal operations that are allowed to run behind my house. Because of everybody's fixation on the word sand, I'm no longer going to call it sand. Sand was introduced to me by the public officials, the elected. I'm going to use the exact terminology of the code book. Mineral extraction. Please look it up. Back on August the 4th, 2001 meeting minutes show that then President Merzinski saying an investigation was taking place with the Highway Department and the Sheriff's Office. Merzinski also stated there would be a report at the next meeting. There's a lot of verbiage back and forth between there. August 18, 2001 agenda and meeting minutes. There is no mention of any investigations, no mention of the signs at the meeting by anyone but myself. I have always asked, where did the signs go? Who ordered the signs down? This isn't just an MS4 thing that happened here. There was a whole series of items that went on. The owner of the industrial mineral property owner talked of possible road damage and repairs that he would take care of. There was videos taken. The road was damaged. It was patched. It was never repaired. This is a fun one. Pulling over a truck from the industrial mineral processing area. The truck pulled over. One truck was pulled over. It was the president of the company, the owner of the company that owns the land himself. He was pulled over by a sheriff that was a member of his wedding party. What a coincidence that was. I'm surprised we don't have the new clocks going tonight. Or is it hidden somewhere? We are on number 2 so far. The only person that I can really say gets called out on clock is Mr. Beach. Others get to go 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes, and I may today because I'm going off script, if not more. It was even said that because it was an official, an elected or appointed official, they could go over during public comment. I don't believe that should be true. I get a timed 3-minute slot to repair a 6.5-year mistake the county has created. It's being brought up to me again how much money the county has spent on this. You didn't spend this money on me. You spent this money on yourself fighting inner departments. You allowed this. You started this. You caused this. I live with it. That's the only involvement I have, living with it. Why don't we just do a root cause analysis on the whole project? Find out what truly happened and not just cut off a piece of it and use it as a scapegoat. Because that's all I see us doing now if we're just isolating the thoughts on MS4. There was a lot more behind all this, and a lot of names were involved with that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Beach.
Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak at this time? Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak at this time? If not, we'll move on. Next, we have department head comments and department head reports. Is there any department head who wishes to speak?
Morning, Commissioners. Larry
morning.
Lewandowski, Department of Facilities. Last month, I came before you at a request from the Councilman Mark Yagelski to research the housekeeping issue in Michigan City. We did put out proposals, and we received some proposals back, and I handed out to all of you. We had eight different companies that came and looked at it. Only 3 of them would give us a proposal on it. The yearly proposals ranged anywhere from $467,000 a year to $108,000 a year. One thing I'd like to mention is the $108,000 one was an hourly wage. They said once they got in there, they would have to review it and see whether or not that would hold. We did analysis and we looked at it, and if we were to hire 2 full-time employees, it would only cost us $114,000 a year to put 2 people to work full-time within the county. I wanted to make sure you had this because I know Mr. Yagelski is waiting for me to come back to the council on it, and I wanted to get your input on it. But I truly feel that it would be a better interest of the county if we could somehow hire our own people and manage our own people and hire out the work over there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate your efforts on this, and I'm inclined to agree with your position there. It's probably better to hire a couple of employees as opposed to farming this out, especially with the upper end. For even just the second location here, you're looking at being able to bring on 4 employees theoretically as opposed to 1 company.
Well,
that would be
something to keep in mind is when my previous directors, they had 5 full-time employees and 4 part-time, which was a total of 9 at the time. We currently have 4 full-time people and 1 part-time, which means we only have 5 housekeepers trying to take care of all of our outbuildings, our main 3 buildings here, and a courthouse in Michigan City, which now is doubled in size. So, like I said, I'd like to be able to go back to the council with a recommendation from you 3 and go from there with it.
I would be amenable to. I would move to allow our facilities director to approach the council for funding for 2 additional full-time employees.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Mr. Auditor, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brzezinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Matias,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Larry. Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time with a report? Here.
Good morning, everyone. I was on
Good morning.
vacation the last couple weeks here. Wanted to comment, I only watched your last meeting, the last commission meeting last night, Tim Stabos, County Auditor. And wanted to comment a bit and give you some feedback and my thoughts as the Chief Financial Officer of LaPorte County, the County Auditor, regarding the Commission's financial advisor, Sender and Company, Sender Dalton, I guess the new name of the firm, regarding advice involving pay increases for county employees and the discussion we've been having around the lit tax and whatnot. The Sender report or slideshow, whatever, was not shared or provided to the county auditor. I saw it for the first time last night. I wanted to note, I think it's very important to realize that the Wagner, Irwin, and Scheel salary study from late 1990, from late 2016 is kind of the gold standard. And it's 5 years old now, but it's the gold standard in kind of giving us a viewpoint in the how employees are underpaid. And generally speaking, I believe that I sent an executive summary with that report again to both council and commission a few months ago. It bears repeating that the average employee back in late 2016 was underpaid in the realm of 5 to 10% compared to our peer groups. Now, since then, because of COVID and other reasons, of course, public safety people were deemed to be even more underpaid. We know that they couldn't hire people, so adjustments have been made by the commission and council on that. The point I want to make that if in the main, since we've kept up with inflation generally with our salary increases since the salary study was done, if you assume that in the main perhaps we're underpaid, still 5 to 10% for employees, to the degree that it's $351,000 for each 1%, the amount of money that would need to be raised would be in the realm between 1.75 million and 3.5 million. Now, I think one of the things that we need to be aware of that's interesting is some departments can't find anyone. That Wagner, Irwin, and Shields study said that the auditor's office, just for example, to use the example of my office, was my clerks, my Comet 4 clerks were underpaid about 10%. Well, that's true. And yet the auditor's office, I've had a lot of success in my most recent round of hiring, in hiring quality people at the rates we're paying. So I think that it's interesting that maybe the county either needs to dust off and relook at that salary study and decide, or I don't know what the cost was, maybe do another one. But my point about all this that I want to make is that at $351,000 for each 1% increase, as Mr. Sender got from my office, our office, that's between 1.75 and 3.5 million in new money needed to permanently fix the problem. I want to emphasize this notion of new money. To say that we want to pay competitive salaries to all employees is disingenuous, or would be disingenuous on any of our parts, unless we actually do something to permanently solve the problem. I believe that the Sender report essentially sought to have the county use smoke and mirrors to address the problem. The county can certainly kick the can down the road to 2027, which is essentially what Mr. Sender, in my view of the report, was advocating, and use $5+ million of our ARP money to give a 3% raise immediately that will carry over for those 5 years. But in my opinion, as a county auditor, that is a fiscally irresponsible decision that forces a future county council to essentially take that raise back from employees 5 years from now, unless an alternative permanent revenue source is found. Alternative permanent revenue source. One such revenue source is to increase the local county income tax in some form. Representative Jim Pressel has been very clear that assuming we are going to extract more revenue from the state, expect that $7 billion in federal highway dollars coming to the state, or worse, that elements of the state surplus are going to be gifted back to localities, is political pie in the sky, as the state is more likely to give taxpayers the surplus back as a tax rebate. The state is given more local control, as Representative Pressel said, by allowing for taxes such as wheel taxes and the lids. They are not sympathetic to giving more of their money for counties who refuse or decline to take control of their own destiny. Tom Dermody was in the state legislature for a long time, and he was influential. I think you can very well trust that if getting money back from the state was plausible, with all the connections Mr. Dermody has, that would have been pursued by him. Asking the state to change their laws, as the Sender report and the resolution that you passed, which was created by Mr. Friedman, asking the state to change their laws for us is terribly naive. The Sender report's recommendation to consider issuing seeded bonds, in particular, I believe is a bad one, as it is essentially borrowing from our future seeded revenue collections and adding interest costs that the county would not otherwise bear. Wrapping up, finally, the Sender report essentially read suspiciously like and parroted your anti-tax resolution that you had passed prior to his report, the major elements of which was determined and written by the county attorney. You said you wanted him to be involved in policy and approved a contract with him that allowed as such, which is exactly the conflict of interest I referred to when I asked you to pass the contract that precluded him from being a policy figure. Which means that you got exactly what the county attorney wanted in your recommendations from Sender. But Rich Mazinski told me that Mr. Friedman vacations which means we ended up paying an outside advisor several hundred dollars an hour for a recommendation that confirms the resolution that you passed. That is a waste of money. My recommendation to the council and the commission, the county council and the county commission, respectfully, do not give any additional raises until or unless you find some additional source of permanent money. Anything less would be fiscally imprudent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other department heads who wish to speak at this time?
Madam President, members of the Commission, Tony Rodriguez, Director of LaPorte County's Community and Economic Development Department. We had the opportunity to present our 21 annual report results to the council this previous Monday evening. And while very exciting in reporting the very strong new investment in LaPorte County, which is absolutely critical to the health and long-term welfare of our community's tax base. I was remiss in not recognizing a few absolutely critical players on our economic development team. And I wanted to just acknowledge them because they are so absolutely critical to our efforts. And that is our very own LaPorte County Assessor, Mr. Michael Schultz, Mr. Mike Schultz. The assessor's office plays an integral role as we seek to package and present to you as the elected bodies, both you and the county council, the county planner, the county building commissioner. And the reason I'm pointing this out, we are very fortunate to have such a dynamic, cooperative team that is working together on an as-needed basis. Without that level of cooperation, we would not have the level of success that we're having. So it was my oversight. I wanted to acknowledge their tremendous team approach and their willingness to be part of a winning team, and I wanted to say thank you to them. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, would you run through the business retention and expansion, the four companies? Because I think it's really important that the public knows what's going on. So
Sure.
Could you just share a little bit about, starting with OTEC?
I'm commonly accused of talking too much.
I know you are, but this time I'm asking you to please tell us about these companies.
Sure. And it's 6 companies, Commissioner.
Matt Reardon is laughing back there.
OTEC Corporation, Dwyer Instruments, CL Enterprise, which is also Alexander Chemical operating company, Peepers, also known as the Salmon Company, Harrison Electric, Sullivan Palatech. That's just 6 companies that is still not the full list of companies we're working with, all of which have tremendous histories. And I just, once again, I applaud the fact that we have the ability to acknowledge their presence, promote them to our up-and-coming youth as permanent employment opportunities. And it's exciting work, and we're fortunate to be seeing the level of investment that we are. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I continue to say third time's a charm on our fiber optic and broadband. My fingers are crossed, but we know the answer's coming in April, and we are in daily communication with that Okra office and doing absolutely everything we can with not only the 2 petitioner companies, Surf Broadband, Acme Communications, but Comcast as well, which is to be commended for their substantial capital investments right now in Kingsbury Industrial Park. The Redevelopment Commission has recently awarded access to their easements. We're just extremely pleased to be experiencing the level of investment that we are. This is what drives assessed value in the correct direction, which is straight up. And we're fortunate to be seeing this level of investment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Any other department heads who wish to speak at this time? Let's move on. Number 10 is requests. We have the first part of the request that was removed from the table, but we would like to discuss the social archive. So, Darlene? Social archive, please.
Hi, everyone. I think Darlene may want me to speak on Archive Social. So just to, or Darlene, I was unmuted. I don't know if you want me to go or if you want to go.
Well, I have Sean from Archive Social on Zoom to answer any additional questions. So Archive Social, basically, any LaPorte County Facebook pages like the Animal Shelter, EMA, Health Department, all of those Facebook pages become, public access, or, so somebody from the public could request content under public access law. So by purchasing Archive Social, that product gives us unlimited, storage. It archives everything that's been on that page, any comments, any changes, when they were made, and by who. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah, so for any county department that's using social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Archive Social automatically captures all of those communications virtually in real time in an online database that Darlene or any other employees that she would designate users would be able to access and search as any other database would be searchable, to allow the county to fulfill any records requests for such communications or for any kind of internal requests regarding policy decisions, policy violations that may have been made by citizens in the comments. And yes, things that have been edited, deleted, all those would be captured and marked as searchable as well.
So I'm just asking permission from you guys to accept the purchase agreement upon approval from the council for funds.
And there's a requirement under the open door laws section that we have have some sort of archiving function, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So each department would be like the health department.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever updates their Facebook page is the one that will actually, it takes about 20 minutes to set up.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be the one that, is in charge of that. So the public records request would have to go. I mean, I would have access, but it's not any additional. It's really a quick setup to be able to get this to archive.
Very good. I would move to allow our IT director to approach the council for funding for this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allow Darlene Hale to go to the council for funding for this required purchase. Mr. Auditor?
Roll call.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Matias,
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Mrozinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Next, we want to talk about item 12A, multi-factor authentication. And I know John Jones from Michiana Insurance may be on the line.
He is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, John.
Do you like me to go first, Darlene, or you?
You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam President, honorable commissioners. It's John Jones with Michiana Insurance Services. We have offices in Michigan City, LaPorte, New Carlisle, South Bend, and Plymouth. A late introduction. Last fall, I started blasting out information to my various clients about the need to implement MFA, multi-factor authentication, within their IT systems in order to secure ongoing renewal of their cyber liability insurance policies. Darlene, of course, was one of those clients that I spoke directly to about this, and she's been proactive in researching and moving forward and migrating toward this technology. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit about, briefly, below Darlene's pay grade of expertise on hardware, software, and implementation of this program, a little bit about what is MFA on a layman's terms, and a brief breakdown of some of the MFA requirements that I see carriers looking for. And then also acknowledge that I did send a brief video out through Darlene that hopefully made its way to the commissioners and other stakeholders on the data board and county council, introducing MFA and what that means. I've had so far other clients, a city, a town, and a township implement MFA successfully within their programs, and were renewed for their insurance policies. So the county's renewal is upcoming May 27th, and we have not yet received that renewal application to see exactly what our latest carrier, as you know, we've moved over the years, several carriers for cyber liability, and our latest one was the Cowbell program written on coalition paper. So using some other carriers' information here, I thought I would explain what they have been looking for and what hurdles, if you will, some of those clients had to go through to be compliant and receive their renewals. So some of the breakdowns of MFA that those carriers were looking for were the multi-factor authentication required for all employees when accessing email through a website or cloud-based service. Multi-factor authentication was required for all remote access to the network provided to employees, contractors, and third-party service providers. And in addition to remote access, multi-factor authentication is required for the following, including in such access provided to third-party service providers: all internal and remote administrative access to directory services, Active Directory, all internal and remote administration access to network backup environments, all internal and remote administration access to network infrastructure, firewalls, routers, switches, etc., and all internal and remote administrative access to the organization's endpoints and servers. So on a layman's term, because I know Darlene, I have to sometimes ask her what she's referring to because she's very good and very knowledgeable, and I think the county is very lucky to have such a person at the helm of their IT department, if you will. MFA is part of what is called zero trust in the cyber technology world. So billions have been spent on computer security to try to keep victims, try to keep us victimless, if you will, from cyber attacks. But the good guys aren't even close to getting the upper hand versus the hackers at this point. So now corporate America has been taking a look at whether a concept called zero trust can protect data wherever it is. And basically, the technology underworld blocks access to data via malware put on networks, but those hackers then demand payment, as we know here in LaPorte County, to let us regain access to our own information, known as ransomware. And nothing has really worked up until now. Passwords have been short of being a measure that works. That all the security models, basically in the 20th century and since, have all failed, as evidenced by some of the big data breaches that we've had across the nation. The zero trust concept, unlike traditional security, does not do users inside the network as more trustworthy than those outside of the network. So traditional approaches, some argue, would overlook internal threats. A lot of hackers roam around inside computer networks for months after an initial break-in, hence the zero trust moniker. So that's what we saw here in LaPorte County. They had gained access back in 2018 and were there for months trying to gain further access and do a larger scale damage. So I think moving to MFA with Darlene's help is going to compartmentalize those things and keep hackers from doing a broad-based damage to what we store and data that we protect. So with the zero trust MFA approach to this, the traditional security measures aim to keep those bad guys out of our corporate networks. Network firewalls focus on intruders from the public internet, but in the zero trust setting, every user or device is always re-verified, even if inside the firewall, the enterprise firewall. If the person logging into the network is the real user, or if a device has been compromised. So, MFA and the zero trust concept assumes that bad guys already lurk in the networks, perhaps by stealing someone's security credentials of those who are already appropriated by Darlene to be on the system. So using the zero trust that nobody can be trusted inside or outside of the firewall, the MFA seeks to authenticate and authorize every transaction that's taking place by employees and inside of the four walls of the traditional firewalls, the moat and castle type approach that we've used for centuries. I don't think the zero trust concept or MFA at this point claim to be a silver bullet, but it's more of a framework for controlling the access to our software apps and data by requiring strict identity authentication measures. Considering this and assuming that trust is a vulnerability. So that's really the shift we're taking from the old protection of our system to this new concept of protection of our system. And I know Darlene has identified one of the leading software programs out there with the Cisco system and Duo Security that she's mentioned to me, and I trust that that is the best one. Darlene told me it was. So I don't think it's without a cost. I'm here to tell you that I've been told from many experts that I will not be able to renew or get ongoing cyber liability insurance for the county unless we adopt this MFA. So that's the position I take as your insurance counsel on this, in that in order for me to secure not just the best pricing on insurance, but actually having the availability to get insurance at all at this point. And so I think Darlene is going to talk a little more about what that cost would be to meet that test to allow me to secure insurance for our May 27th renewal. And I don't know now what the renewal application will hold. If we'll have the same carrier offer us a renewal, or if I'll have to seek a renewal outside in the open market. I do know that premiums are going up because of the number of claims and breaches that all of their clients have seen, and we share in that, as you know, the way insurance works. So with that, I'll turn that over to Darlene and see what she wants to add to that, and she can tell you what she's discovered for the county and moving forward to implement this. Thank you.
Thank you.
So currently, the county has approximately 700 users that actually log into computers or network, within, that's including the sheriff, 911, and the county side. So Microsoft Duo is the leading, at Purdue they use it, and I
Right on my
believe
phone.
IU does. So basically what it is when you go to log into your computer, whether it be local or remote, or check your email, you're going to have to receive a text on your phone that will give you a number. That then you also, not only do you have to put your password in, you then have to insert this code, which changes every time. So without knowing your password and having your device, to be able to get that code, you're not going to be able to log in. Same thing with, and that's the thing I'm working on, is whether we can use everybody's phones, or they also have a dongle, which is just a little USB thing with a touch sensor on it that they can plug into their computer, and then every time they go to open it, they're going to have to, plug it in and make contact with that sensor in order to be able to log in. I personally don't want to use the dongles. First of all, it's per dongle, it's $290 per dongle. That's a one-time charge. And then the fees for Microsoft Duo is $3 per user per month. So it comes out to about $25,000 a year, which is going to be an every year cost. If we use, the cell phones and can receive a text, with that code, then there would be no additional charge. It's just the licensing. We currently do have some licenses, but I do not have it in my budget to be able to implement this across the board, as I'm sure the sheriff doesn't or 911 doesn't either.
Any questions?
Sure. Darlene and I had a pretty robust conversation on this the other day. I know just from the personal private sector side of this, I'm seeing companies and software and stuff that I've used before that hasn't had the two-factor authentication or some version of MFA. has been hitting across the board this past week. Part of it is because of the Russian cyber threats that have been blasted out, especially if you're on any government emails or any of these lists. You're seeing heightened and increased threat levels from that as well from those sectors. So I briefly mentioned to Darlene that in the private sector, if we ask somebody to use their personal phone for two-factor authentication, using something like that, we would give them like a bonus or a spiff of $5 or $10 a month to be able to use their personal phone for authentication purposes. It helps to offset the cost of their personal phone if they didn't have a company-issued phone. Of course, Darlene brought up a good point that in the government sector we may not be able to do something like that. So. I don't know. It's definitely something we need to look into.
We could ask the auditor to check with State Board of Accounts to see if that's allowable. Previously, I'm not sure that we were able to, stipend employees for the use of their personal phone for county business.
Yeah, and it's a good point for those who don't know. If someone has their personal phone, you can't force somebody to use their personal equipment necessarily for work purposes, at least not in the private sector, and depending on how that works. So that was something that we looked into as well.
So I have experience with Duo because as a Purdue Northwest employee, we have MFA constantly. It's a simple app, and I would find it hard to believe that county employees wouldn't think that this was the best thing because it keeps our system safe, and it's a quick app like all the other apps you have on your phone. You hit it, a number pops up every time you go to Duo, a different number. You have to click something, and it mixes up the numbers. You type it into your screen, and it's super simple. And I wouldn't want one of those things because it's one more thing to remember to carry with you. This is so easy, and we all keep our phones with us. So I think it's a great idea, and certainly having lived through the ransomware attack that we had and all of the scurrying we had to do to try to protect our system, we don't want to be put in that position again. So I fully support this. Rich, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, it sounds similar to what we use with DocuSign. When they send you a document that needs to be signed, they'll send you a secret code, you put it in, and it's really pretty simple.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea. And this has been a really big subject of discussion at a lot of levels. I subscribe to a web page and magazine called Chief Executive. They talk about cybersecurity a lot because, as Mr. Jones pointed out, the bad guys are getting smarter by the day, and we need to figure out how to combat that. And thank goodness we had Darlene in 2018 when we got attacked. That was something to go through. Let me tell you. So I agree. It's something we need to do.
So I'm asking to be able to approach council for additional funding. I hope to have an answer from State Board of Accounts by then, to know whether or not, we can ask employees to use their personal phone. We could always do a hybrid situation. I want to stress to the county employees that they can't just plug it in their computer and leave it. They actually have to keep it with them because it is assigned to them.
Right.
So that's my question,
I'd make that motion to allow Darlene to go to the council and approach them.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to allow Darlene to approach the council for funding for multi-factor authentication. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Matias,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Catherine Schmidt is here to seek permission for the prosecutor's office, the Adult Protective Service investigators, to attend a training.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Catherine Schmidt. I'm the Director of Adult Protective Services. As you may or may not know, our primary source of funding is a grant through the state Division of Aging Family Social Service Administration, and our grant period ends June 30th. So when we project our next year's budget, we don't know about raises or insurance increases or gas prices. So we have a considerable amount of money left in our grant that needs to be spent by June 30th. So in addition to asking to send 2 investigators to New Orleans to the American Association on Aging, their conference this year is focusing on senior financial issues, which I think is very important for our investigators to know more about. I'm also asking for permission to purchase a new vehicle. We have 1 less vehicle than we do full-time investigators. So we're paying mileage to that person or sharing vehicles between the investigators, which makes things a little difficult sometimes. So I'm asking for both of those, which are completely paid for with our grant, nothing from the county.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve both of the items, the travel to New Orleans, which is the money's in their budget, and the vehicle for $26,220, which is also within their grant funds.
Commissioner Brzezinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Matias?
Aye.
Commissioner Haney?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. Next on the agenda, consider purchasing new, we just finished that one. Consider permission to approach the council for additional appropriation of funds for radio tower utility, maintenance fund, and to repair sirens. Mr. Saby.
Good morning, Rob Saby with the LaPorte County EMA. Requesting permission to approach the council first for appropriations for, there was money that wasn't appropriated this year in the budget, somehow it got missed. It's for utilities to pay for the 2 radio towers and also for maintenance on propane for the backup generators. There's 1 tower out at the county property out by Rolling Prairie, and then there's the other one down at KOP.
Very good. I would move to allow Mr. Saby to approach the council for the funding he needs here for the sirens and tower.
We have a motion and a second to approve Mr. Saby going to the council for additional appropriation of funds. Roll call, please.
Is there a second? Commissioner Haney?
Aye.
Commissioner Matias?
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Saby.
The second I have on here is, I know I talked to you before the last council meeting, or commissioners meeting. We have 3 towers, or sirens, that need, 2 of them need repair from lightning strike from last year. And the third one is at Springfield Township Fire Department. They're going to put a new driveway in and it needs to be moved. And we had a quote from Marcus Electric. Apparently that siren is in bad shape too. It basically needs to be replaced. So they're going to move it, put a new telephone pole up. The telephone pole that's on right now is too short. They're going to move it up and move it out of the way so they can put their driveway in. So I have 3 quotes on that. And also there was some money that was encumbered from last year that was part of this project that'll add to that. So the total on that's going to be about $46,000.
So do you have funds in your budget, or you need to go to the council?
No, we need to go to the council for that.
Okay.
This is extra that the project started last year, but then a couple other things that had come up in the meantime since, and I'm just finding this out, of course, I just started here a month ago, so.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we have to do to get these 3 sirens up and running.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. I would move to allow Mr. Saby to approach the council for the additional roughly $46,000 that he needs.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Haney?
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Matias?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you, Mr. Saby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You hit the ground running, that's for sure. Next on the agenda, under old business, consider retaining Reggie Corthal's former executive director of the MS4 Partnership and project manager for Butler Fairman for the top-down review of 2 disputed MS4 permits and help redesign a compliant stormwater permitting program for the county going forward.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Would you like to say something? Please feel free to come up.
The motion just came right in there.
That's good. Motions are good.
Nicole Messicur, LaPorte County Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm just here to support this motion. Reggie has been a longtime colleague since she was with IDEM. And now that we will be taking on some of the programmatic functions of the MS4 program, and there's a new permit, we would like that expertise and knowledge to help us set the program up so that we're making sure that everything that needs to be compliant is compliant. And just to kind of point out that this isn't unique to LaPorte County. It's a new permit for everybody in the entire state. So every program right now is restructuring and having to make sure that they are upgrading what they do within their internal structures and external as well. So it's not unusual. I think it'll be very important for us to get started. We're all, we've been around, but it's all new to everybody. So, and Reggie is a trusted colleague and somebody who I think has really got the knowledge to do what we need to do and do it efficiently without wasting any time.
Right. Reggie, do you have anything you'd like to throw out for us?
You could read these later, but this gives you an idea of what's going on in your work. Just to give the commissioner, good morning, just to give the commission a little idea of what's going on.
Could you introduce yourself and your company, please?
I'm Reggie Korthals. I'm the Environmental Resource Project Manager at Butler, Fairman, and Seifert in Maryville and Indianapolis.
Thank you.
My boss is here. What I want to do is I want you to understand some of the changes. This is an ideal time for you to take this on because your former MS4 coordinator has retired. We're not going to look back. We're going to look forward, and we're going to say, what is it the county has to do? It's important for the county to understand that as a regulated MS4 permittee, you are only responsible for implementing the program in the county. And you, as the county commissioners, are the MS4 operator. So you've put it in the laps of the SWCD, which is an excellent choice. Nicole and her staff have long histories of doing this kind of work, and working with them will be a good deal. In the past, you had this partnership, and it kind of fell in your lap that you were being responsible for all these entities. The new permits now, you have a permit number in the state of Indiana called INR 040107. The new permits coming out will be 107A, 107B, 107C. So the other entities within the county, the city of LaPorte, city of Michigan City, town of Trail Creek, town of Long Beach, all will have their own permit. And their responsible operator will be the highest elected official in that community. So you will be responsible for putting the permit together in your county. Now, once the MS4 or once the Soil and Water District has put things together and found they have the staff and the wherewithal to help any of these other communities, you will be required to enter into a memorandum of understanding with them. They are still the responsible entity, and they will have to submit their NOI and submit their annual reports. But your focus now is on your own county. But I think it's important for me to say that the issues that have developed, that I'm not going to look back, are more inclusive than the MS4 program. We need to develop a process where a stormwater talks to the planning department, talks to the county engineer. We need to take the MS4 program and engage Public Works, engage the parks, engage the health department. They're all part of the compliance process, which will make it easier for you and more economically beneficial to get it done. Plus, the big thing is it puts LaPorte County in a position where contractors and developers that come in to work here could feel comfortable that the permits are in place. The residents can feel comfortable that they know what's going on, and and if they have objections to a certain project, they can come forward, and we're going to try to get that together. So You're not hiring me to do the work, you're just hiring me to help do the work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very briefly, and for either yourself or for Ms. Mesker, you think the changes to the permitting process that are coming this year are significant enough that you will require this additional expertise?
Absolutely. 4 years ago, I wrote this.
Oh, if
You'll
you
need
could
to be
come
at the microphone.
please.
Sorry.
4 years ago, EPA came down and said Indiana has to stop issuing permits by rule because they went to a rule board and they went to the legislature. The rule board was made up of elected officials who were being regulated. So EPA said, we want to change. So it changed to what we call a master general permit. And there are additions that we added to that, things that MS4s will have to do. We have 182 MS4s identified in Indiana. IDEM is going to come forward using the 2010 census and add 40 more. And a lot of those are going to be beachfront communities. But as we do that, then we have to find a way that we can make sure everybody is doing what they want, because when I was auditing, I had 182 different stormwater plans. So we're trying to get some consistency across the board. It would help in the county so that if a contractor is working in LaPorte, the city of LaPorte, and comes to the county, he knows the same things that are going on, and that's kind of where we're going to go. So once I left, I retired for a week, and Butler Fairman hired me, and so then I worked on the work committee to iron out all the problems. The permit was actually put in place on December the 18th. It's listed on the IDEM webpage, but we're waiting for the notices of intent to come down to you once they're reviewed by the document committee and IDEM. And once you have them, you have 190 days to respond to that. And that's going to be enough time for the SWCD to put their program in place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Add to that. And
Thank you.
internally, as far as the department goes, to answer your question, Commissioner Haney, yes. As you know, we are the Soil and Water Conservation District. We do soil and water conservation district types of things. We have a conservation technical assistance program. We provide checks for various federal easements. I have my education outreach program. So we're taking on these tasks. They're highly additional. So yeah, I think the assistance getting some things, not only to comply with the new permit, but to, let's say, untangle a lot of the things that had been done in the past that maybe weren't effective. I think it will be really, really, really helpful for us to be able to have somebody that knows what's kind of been done in the past, why it's been done in the past, and where we're going in the future. And to just sort of lighten some of our workload, getting that put together, to be honest with you, I think is going to be incredibly important.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Commissioner, there's an organization across Northwest Indiana, LaPorte and LaPorte County, called the Northwest Indiana Stormwater Advisory Group, NISWAG. And what they do now is to try to provide education to you and then to contractors and developers. So last Monday, we had a contractors and developers workshop to teach them all the new elements to the permits at 190, and we had some that do work in LaPorte County. So that ongoing education is important. The SWCD has 2 new members of their staff. These young men went ahead and took the technical certification programs, so they're going to be certified to go out and look at construction sites, things like that. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
We have a motion. Commissioner Morzinski made a motion. Do we have support?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to support the retention of Reggie Corthals of Butler Fairman for a top-down review of the disputed MS4 permits and designing a compliant stormwater program for our future.
Commissioner Brzezinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Matias?
Aye.
Commissioner Haney?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. The motion has carried. Next on the agenda, under new business, we have consider contract amendment to the Antero agreement provided for additional work on the Lincoln Trail project. I don't know if Mitch Bishop is here or on Zoom.
Hi, I'm on Zoom.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right. As you're aware, the county received multiple grants for the Lincoln Trail extension. The first one, I believe, in 2019. That was with NERC. Subsequently, we got additional funds from Healthcare Foundation LaPorte, Purdue, the Parks Foundation, and we're in the process of applying for the Next Level Trail grant to extend this even further. This deals with this contract amendment before you today, deals with the first part of the trail. That's the 2-mile section between, I would say, New Durham Estates, just west of New Durham Estates, west of 421, north along the Monon Trail, through north of 200 South, along Otis Road, and then it turns easterly and hooks up to the first light by PNW, just west, Purdue northwest. When the engineer, we're working on the site, when that section turns easterly to Purdue, we noticed a large ravine and a tremendous amount of wetlands. So with this, before you today, this amendment is for $233,000, and the grant takes up 80% of that. It's actually extension north of the wetland area, further north on Otis Road, around the wetlands. So we wouldn't have to build a wooden boardwalk. We wouldn't have to build retaining walls, and it'd be a little bit more seamless and it'd be easier to move through the site. Now I was able to get 80% of it funded, and the matching funds would come through the Healthcare Foundation, LaPorte, and the Purdue Parks Foundation. So I would not have to attend or go before council or ask your permission to go before council for any matching funds. All that's needed today is your signature so the engineer can get moving.
Thank you, Mitch. I would entertain a motion.
I'd move to approve the contract amendment to the Interior Agreement providing additional work on the Lincoln Trail project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to consider the contract amendment to the Ontario agreement. Especially noteworthy is that 2 foundations are providing the match for this community, so that's very significant, and we thank them for that. The roll call, please.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Matias.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Mitch. Next on the agenda, consider the bid opening for materials, paving, and pavement markers. Mr. Werner.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, that's for our annual paving bids. We also have on there line striping and I believe bituminous materials, which are hot, liquid asphalt.
First bid received from Milestone Contractors North, Class 12 hot asphalt. Timely received. The base bid, Type B binder mix, $69 a ton. Type B surface mix, $79 a ton. There are several alternate bids as well that will be included in this particular packet presented by Milestone. The second from bid received, timely received from Reith Riley. Hot asphalt, base bid, Type B binder mix, $59.80. Type B surface mix, $67. And again, a variety of alternate bids included with the Reith Riley submission.
Like 2 minutes. I'm like, put the phone in there.
The hazards of Zoom.
Next, Class 13 pavement markings, timely received from Avalanche Snow Removal and Mains, LaPorte. And again, rather than read all of the various subcategories as we don't do on the markings bid, I will read the mobilization bid, 300 a day. That's for the 150,000 linear foot. Same for 200,000 linear foot, same for 300,000 linear foot, and then a variety of mobilization bids, crossing marking, stop bar marking, and turn arrow marking as well. Next, on the pavement marking received from Air Marking Company of Rochester, Indiana, timely received. Mobilization, 2,500 for 150,000 linear foot, same for 200,000, 300,000. The additional subparts for various paint marking, stop bar, arrow marking, and mobilization for epoxy included, and that from Air Marking Company, Rochester. This now I think we move to Class 11. Bituminous. Timely received from Central Paving of Logansport, Indiana. Optional bid, materials only, stone and trucking. This is for Central Paving. Cost of application 40 cents per gallon. Appears to be their submission for a materials only bid.
That'd be for our chip sealing program.
Thank you. Next, also Class 11, bituminous. Timely received, Asphalt Materials, Inc., Indianapolis, Indiana. AE 90 per gallon bid at customer facility 1.938, job site 1.938. AE 90S, customer facility 2.238, job site 2.238. AEF per gallon, customer facility $1.93, 1.938, job site 1.938. Last bid, also Class 11, bituminous, timely received from Klink Group of Ashley, Indiana. And they have bid in a dozen different categories. I will read the AE category. AE 150, $2.18, $2.48, $2.18. AEP 295, $3.25, and $2.95. AEPL 215, $2.45, $2.15. AE 90S $2.28, $2.58, $2.28. All received from Klink Group, Ashley, Indiana. Madam President, would ask the commission to show the bids as received and turned over to the department head for a recommendation, if you would.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bids as presented. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Matias,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Merzinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider bid opening for the Rolling Prairie EMS and Highway Garage. Mr. Lewandowski.
Morning again, Commissioners. We're here this morning to open up the bids for the Rolling Prairie Highway project.
We certainly heard some wonderful information earlier under public comment about how this project has been coming along, and we appreciate the fact that you have pushed it closer to the finish line than anyone previously.
Well, if you remember 4 years ago when I first came here, we started out with the LaPorte one, and it was at that point where we were already talking about the Rolling Prairie. So it's been a long, drawn-out challenge, we'll say, but we're finally here.
We're getting there.
And Madam President, members of the Commission, we should note too, Mr. Lewandowski was able to secure 5 different bids for this particular project. So I know that certainly bears noting. The first proposal from Pavey Excavating for site work to include any and all site work associated with the new MS space. And again, the way Mr. Lewandowski set this up with, I think, Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Bishop all assisting as the bid forms were put together. There are 5 different categories, one for site work, one for the new EMS space, the new highway garage, new salt storage structure, and then the combination of various base bids. This particular bid by Pavey is for site work. Base bid number 1, $398,629. $398,629 for base bid number 1, which is the site work.
As Mr. Freeman was saying, we've been working with Giannini and Associates out of Chester, and we went with 5 different categories on this to try and, so we could research it a little bit better and make sure that way all the buildings are bid separately along with site work. It would hopefully bring a little bit better bidding in for the county.
Thank you.
Well, it's being open. Thank you, Larry. I'm really excited to see this finally getting another step down.
We're looking forward to it. Another project to get started in the county.
Yeah. Double wrapped.
New text bid, fairly secure. The new tech bid, timely received, and new tech, I believe, of South Bend. New tech has bid on 2, 3, 4, and 5. Base bid for the new MS space, $591,000. Base bid for the new highway department garage, $787,000. Base bid for the new salt storage structure, $221,000. Combination of base bids 1, 2, 3, and 4, $1,999,000. And Madam President, we should say for the record too that on all these bid openings, the department heads go through and ensure that the bid bonds are enclosed as well as compliance with the responsible bidder ordinance and other parts of the bid proposal, and that's all included as part of the bid review. The next bid, timely received from Larson Danielson Construction of LaPorte. Larson Danielson has provided bids on number 2, number 3, and number 4. New AMS base, Larson Danielson has quoted at $596,321. Base bid 3 for the new Highway Department garage in Rolling Prairie, $776,476. And base bid 4 for the new salt storage structure, $337,193. As I said, no bid on base bid 1 or 5. Next, again, also timely received from Haas Construction, Calumet City, Illinois. Haas has provided bids in all 5 categories. The base bid number 1 for site work, they've quoted at $401,400. Base bid number 2, new EMS base, they've cited a bid of $595,000. Base bid number 3, new Highway Department garage, $802,000. Base bid number 4, salt storage, $379,900. Combination of base bids 1, 2, 3, and 4 get us to number 5, a total on the project of $2,129,000. Final submission from Garrett Construction, Gary, Indiana. Again, also timely received. Garrett has bid on all the areas, the base bids, and then the concluding bid of number 5. Site work they've cited at $737,500. New EMS base, $827,500. A new Highway Department garage, $1,097,500. New salt storage structure, $539,500. Combination of all the base bids, $2,763,500. Madam President, members of the Commission, we'd ask you to show the bids as received and turned over to the department head for recommendation.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the bids as presented and give them to the department head for his review. All those in, Mr. Auditor.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Matias.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, consider settlement with Ashley Atwood in the amount of $4,833.73 for a snowplow accident.
Yes, Madam President, members of the Commission, as you know, our county's third-party claims adjusters are authorized to pay claims under $2,500. Anything exceeding $2,500 needs to come to the Commission for formal approval. In this particular case, documentation is included that was supplied by Gallagher Bassett, and we are recommending. And again, this periodically happens, as we know, where there is a snowplow accident, and county endeavors to make good, whether it's taking down a mailbox or, in this particular case, a damage to a particular member of the public's vehicle. And so we're recommending approval of this settlement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Matias.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Motion has carried. Next on the agenda, we have Commissioner comments. Commissioner Haney.
Thank you, Madam President. It's been a pretty interesting past couple of weeks. A lot of good things have happened. One of the things that I want to cover right out of the gate here, I received an anonymous letter from a county employee. I would ask, they indicated in that they watched some of the meetings. I would ask that that employee please reach out to me. They expressed some definite concerns, and with an anonymous letter, it's very, there's only so far certain things can go, so I would love to do a deeper dive into what was expressed to me. So a person would feel free to reach back out to me in some fashion. They can stop by the office, they can send me an email, they can give me a call. My direct cell phone is 219-809-8769. I would love to speak with this person and get some more information with what they've expressed. Anyway, moving on. for update for Kingsbury Creek Drainage Improvement Project that was funded by the council. We're looking at the next meeting. I'll be asking the amended contract with be advertised and added on to, so we can get that contract finalized and approved for that to go along with the funding that's been approved. Also, I would like to touch on a couple more things. Visited with a number of different departments this past week, and as well as we had a great meeting. The Kiwanis Club does a lot of work here in the county as well as around the world for children, and they were gracious enough to invite a lot of the local elected officials to that meeting. It's one of their anniversaries. They spotlighted some of the work they've been doing over the past basically century. Had a great time on Sound Off answering questions from the community. I really appreciate that active involvement and engagement that we have. Feel free to reach out to me, or I'm sure any of my fellow commissioners would say the same thing with any of those concerns that you may have. Yesterday there was a Parks and Rec meeting, and I just want to give a shout out to a young Eagle Scout who was awarded a Volunteer of the Year work for some of the volunteer work that he did. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention that during that Parks and Rec meeting yesterday, our local highway department was recognized for the amount of work that they've done this past year to help make some of these projects that we've done at the parks. They've done a tremendous amount of work out at LaPorte Park and some other places, and Highway getting involved, and Parks Foundation as well, being able to make some of the money that we have, as well as some of that grant money that came in, really get the best bang for the buck. So as our superintendent, Jeremy Sebeski, said, the size of the playground out there, if it wasn't for these different groups pulling together, it would have shrank in size, but having to get, some of the different paving and other stuff that was done out there to really make this come to fruition, I think springtime's going to see a lot of amazing things in the county for our county parks, and folks get out there and see what's happened. They're going to be excited. I'm excited for it as well. And my girls have grown up now, so they're not really going to be using the playground too much, but I know we've utilized parks over the years quite a bit. Also, I wanted to shout out the Parks Department employees, the ones who are on the ground maintaining stuff throughout the year. Be it, not just in the spring, summer, and fall, but they do a tremendous amount of work in the winter as well, keeping things going so that the parks are ready to open in time when spring, or they're all kind of always open, but we can all hit the ground running full speed, as soon as that first beautiful day comes, which is probably going to be this Saturday. In closing, with this being Women's History Month, I wanted to give a quick quote here to tie into just kind of, we hear a lot of talk and things about different rights and individuals and things like that, be it here or around the globe. And I think it's important to remember that, as Ian Rand said, the smallest minority on earth is the individual. And those who deny individual rights cannot claim to be defenders of minorities. I think that's extremely important. We have to remember that everyone is important. Everyone has an equal voice, and that it ultimately, the smallest, as she says, and the smallest minority is the individual. If we're not protecting the individual, we're not protecting anyone. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Haney. Mr. Mrzinski.
Yeah, spring is just around the corner, and with spring, of course, we've got a lot of projects that will be coming up. One in particular just started for a pre-construction moving for the project on 150 North and Lofton Road. That's going to be a very involved project, going to impact the traffic. And of course, paving will start before too much longer. That will also impact traffic. Just ask everybody to slow down and give those workers a chance to get their work done without being be concerned about being struck by a vehicle. I saw continuing talks about the Michigan City Drawbridge. We're getting closer to having a regular a presentation to give to Congressman Levan's office, who seems to be very interested in helping us to do something with that bridge. And I think we're very close to having a design project exactly what we want to do. And then it'll be a matter of see how interested the Congressman's office is in funding that. So at least we're hoping to get a planning grant. And I think we have a pretty good chance of doing that. And I sure concerned. In 2007, I promised Rick Ledlow we would do what we could do to get that ambulance moved. And we've been through a lot of trials and tribulations to get that this far. We've looked at so many different locations and got shot down. Thanks to our attorney who got the land out there from the state for the park there on between 2 and 20. And I'm excited to see this go forward. It's definitely something we've needed for a long time. When I hear a story of somebody in Saugony Lake or Hudson Lake that is having a heart attack and they call for an ambulance, and it's going to take about 20 minutes before the ambulance can get there just because of how far it is. Unacceptable in this day and age. So this is something we've needed for a long time, and I'm very excited about breaking ground and getting that started. So that's all I have to do.
Thank you, Mr. Mrzinski. So I use my time to talk about economic development because to me jobs are so critical to our families. For people to come to LaPorte County to be able to stay here, jobs are so important for families. We have a highlight this week on Filtration Plus. They're located on North 900 West in Michigan City. They are a manufacturer of high-quality micron-rated liquid filter bags and bag filter housings. So one of the cool things about this program is we get to learn all of the awesome things that are made in LaPorte County, and I think that's, for me, it's been, I thought I knew a lot of things, but there's things I was not aware of, and it's really important. This is a solid employer that has been here for 20 years, creating and constructing liquid filter bags and filter housings. They are one of the largest filter bag manufacturers in America, made here in LaPorte County. All of their products are fully manufactured in America, and they really focus on customer service and high quality products. Their customers are usually in water treatment, plating, and chemical manufacturing, and they include Hormel, Tyson, Gatorade, and Campbell Soup. They have a sister company in Chicago, Filter Technology, which is has been in Chicago for a very long time, owned by Herman Hertzberg. They employ 17 people, and their wages start at $15 an hour. They have a 401k, life insurance, and health insurance provided. The company pays half the premiums for dental and other insurance plans. They have major holidays and vacations, etc. They pride themselves on having a very family-oriented atmosphere, and the people there say their job is always interesting because there's so many different kinds of filters and different kinds of things that they're building. They have openings right now. They are looking for seamstresses, and they are willing to train anyone who applies. They have openings for material spreaders, bag assemblers, and general utility and labor, all starting at $15 an hour. The applications are available in their lobby. We will also have a link to their website on the LaPorte County Works page on our county website, and that website's been really a great tool because people who are looking for employment, they might not be able to navigate through Indeed, but they can go right to our website and see all the companies. Their icons are there. They click on each company and they can see the job applications, how to apply, what the company makes, or what kind of service that they're looking for. So what we're trying to do is to really focus on, first of all, honoring the wonderful employers who've been here for years and years, sometimes very low-key and sometimes kind of under the radar. So we want to highlight them because we really are grateful that they are here. They're helping us build a healthy community, but we also want to make sure that our young people know that there are jobs right here in LaPorte County. And I think I've shared previously that it's hard for me to hear people say there's no jobs in LaPorte County. You have to go to St. Joe County, you have to go to Lake County, you have to go down towards Indianapolis to find good work, and that is absolutely not true. And so this is an opportunity for us as a county and part of the economic development effort to retain the companies that we have, as well as look for new companies. But retention is a huge part of economic development. Mike Seitz is doing a great job managing that retention program, but it's a team effort, and it's the things that Tony reports on don't just happen. It is a concerted and focused effort. So I really want to make sure that we call out that department and the team that we've built. In fact, yesterday there was a really great team meeting, and I want to share that a group of economic development professionals from across the region gathered via Zoom yesterday, organized by Tony and his department, and also with the LEAP partnership, focusing on all the very interesting properties around our county that are developable. I think I stayed on till we were on property like 18 by the time I was like, okay, enough of this. But they talked about rail accessibility and what type of zoning the properties had, what their fiber optics were. And so, to make sure that everyone who's doing economic development really has a good mental image of what the property looks like, what's the infrastructure on the property, whether they have rail access, what their highway access is. And it was a really productive meeting, and I was honored to be part of that. I'd like to close just with a mention about Ukraine. That's not a political issue. It's an issue. It's a world issue. And when we all see the pictures of or the video interviews with families and children, it certainly is heartbreaking. But it also makes us realize how lucky we are as Americans. We have veterans all across this country who went to war for us in various arenas and still serve our country, willing to put their lives on the line to protect us, to make sure that our rights are protected, that we have a democracy that is intact. And so for the veterans who have served, I think this is a moment for us to be appreciative. For those who are active duty, certainly a moment. I have had an interesting experience. I have a son-in-law who's in the Navy. He's active duty Navy. And he and my daughter had a new baby, and at 6 weeks old, he had to go out to sea, and he was gone for 7 months. And it really brought home to me once more how absolutely important the family is. The whole family is enlisted because the whole family has to help support when someone is in active duty. So again, thanking our veterans for keeping our rights intact, and God bless America. So with that,
Madam President, if I could, just a bit of housekeeping before you adjourn,
Sure.
because I know you wanted to get word out about this. I know the commission has scheduled a public workshop, and we wanted to make sure that members of the public knew. Public workshop for stakeholders to meet and discuss proposed amendments to the county commercial truck ordinance for next Monday at 6 p.m. in this room. County Highway Superintendent Mr. Werner will be present to address concerns, answer any questions regarding proposed amendments, as will Laura Nierenberg of my office, who's working on the amendments. County Ordinance 2020-02 was adopted to regulate and control commercial truck activity and to conserve and maintain public roadways and bridges. And the proposed amendments, along with the legislative digest and fee schedule, are going to be available on the county website today, so that any of your constituents who are interested, stakeholders, the regulated community can see that. But I know you wanted to make sure we get word out, and I know the commission is issuing a press release later today on that. So it is next Monday, March 7th, 6 p.m. in this room, a workshop being convened by the Highway Superintendent and Laura Nierenberg of my office, who've been working